Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from Earth 616 to the Mojoverse to the TVA in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
And I'm the nerd with the mouth, David.
Alliance Assemble.
Assemble.
Volume 255, and we have come to the penultimate episode of Daredevil Born Again Season 1. Something we haven't even mentioned on here. I mean, we're calling, we know we're getting Season 2, but are they going to call it Daredevil Born Again Season 2? Or are we going to get a new subtitle? Or are we just going to do what other people call it, Daredevil just Season 4?
You know what? I've never thought about that. Are they going to do the whole comic thing where they just go back to the original numbering? Are we going to get a Brave New World? Like, how are they going to do this going into Season 2? That would be interesting to see.
So Marvel to do that at that point too, in the sense of like 12 issues. All right, we're renumbering because yes, we can get more sales. You're not wrong, which is why, as an omnibus collector, typically sales on as volume numbers goes up, sales continue to go down. Case in point, there's a Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, supposed to be volume 2. Well, they have no longer solicited as volume 2. They've retitled it an entirely different title, but it's supposed to be technically the volume 2 to the first volume of that. But it's how crazy Marvel gets it. We got to make sure that people can think they can get a jumping on point. So
yeah, they did the same thing when Miles Morales first came out. You had your Ultimate Spider-Man line, then you had your Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales, and you just had it kept going, and there was like 3 volume 1s in a row.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at them right now, and then when they reissued the Omnis to make it all align, same stuff, just retitled. Yeah, I didn't bother double dipping on that and say I'm good with. I know where they go.
Yeah.
So, but how's been your week, David?
Week has been much quiet compared to last week, and I will take that. The highlight of my week is I had a friend in town, and I also got a new Daredevil sweatshirt that has some beautiful braille on it.
Let's highlight that. There we go. Show it off.
Yes, it is amazing. So you got the double D logo and then Daredevil in braille. I'm here for it.
A lot of phrasing going on with that. so that's good.
Yeah, I literally got it over the weekend, and it has been sitting waiting on tonight. I said I was not going to wear it until showtime.
Very cool. Yeah, we're wearing our Daredevil stuff. It's pretty soon. We're gonna have to. I mean, we could always bring it back, but we'll have to step back from it. And I don't think I have any Thunderbolt stuff. So.
Yeah, no.
Maybe I should break up my Taskmaster shirt because there's so many. Oh wait, I don't have any of those.
Yeah, I may have a Winter Soldier Funko Pop around here. That's about it.
We see Andrew in the chat. How you doing, Andrew? The week's been okay. Busy week. Got a job fair. Not me going to, but me, having positions at my school at that point. So doing that on Saturday. But busy. Lighter week than last week. As always, weekends. Or as soon as I get done with that job fair, got to go out, change clothes from the suit and tie to the soccer field and cheer on my kids. And then we've got a short week next week because it'll be for those that celebrate, it'll be the Easter weekend. So I've got a 4-day weekend coming up the following week. So it's going to be good. In-laws coming into town. Perfect timing for a 4-day weekend, Good thing is I actually do like my in-laws, unlike some people.
Yeah, that makes it a plus, especially if you're going to have to go through a long weekend.
Yep. So, but all right, let us, before we get into all the, tonight, heads up, everyone, it is just Daredevil Episode 8 Penultimate. The news has been light. Yes, we know Empire or whoever put out a cover story on Fantastic Four. Really wasn't a lot to talk about. Cool pictures to see, but nothing that David and I felt was newsworthy to kind of break down. So, Andrew, well, I appreciate you popping in. Good luck with your show, buddy, and look forward to seeing it on the replay.
Yeah.
But all right, well, we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 6 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter/X at GUAPod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers. Our dollar tier is our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job? And then we've got our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon exclusive shows. Marvel Alliance, we've got 2 different shows on there. We've got the We can watch this all day. The Marvel Alliance Infinity Saga rewatch, where we watched all 24 movies of the Infinity Saga and broke them down. And then we've got the Tales from the House of X, where we looked at our favorite movies from the Fox era of X-Men. We've got the DC Alliance guys doing their DC films through the years, and Joe doing his Disney deep dives. We're on the 1st and 15th of each month. He will be going and breaking down a animated movie from the Disney catalog in chronological order. So at time of recording, got 5 days to the next one. So we want to thank our patrons. We can't do this without your support. And if you're not a member of our Patreon, go to www.patreon.com/GUA network so you can join us and get that lovely back content. Excuse me. But if you're not a member of our Patreon, take 30 to 90 seconds and rate and review the Marvel Alliance solo feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. And last, but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with excellent customer service, immaculate packaging, ships around the world. Got about 7 days left in order to lock in your pre-orders to guarantee your copy of many of these omnibuses and collected editions and deluxe editions, such as New Avengers by Brian Michael Bendis, Volume 2. We've got X-Men by Jerry Duggan in omnibus format. We've got She-Hulk. Got Star Wars Legends, The Old Republic, Volume 2, S.H.I.E.L.D. in omnibus format. Lots of different great ones this month. And you've got 2 different codes you can use for Marvel Alliance. You can use Marvel GUA and get $2 off every order. Or if you order 4 or more books, you please use the code MGUASIT. You will get 5% off your entire order. So sometimes that can save you upwards of, a good chunk of change, more than just the shipping and tax. So use either one of those codes. You can use it in a limited amount of times. Let them know you are a listener, and we want to thank them for being our official sponsor. All right. So, I think that's about it. So, let us give some non-spoiler thoughts on the penultimate episode of Daredevil Born Again, entitled Isle of Joy. So, what do you think, David?
So non-spoiler, I think that this was a huge step up since last week. Last week wasn't as much of a bummer for me as it was for some people, but it was still an obvious step up. I do think that you can tell again where the changes in direction of the show were, because there were some parts that jumped back in to the beginning of this season. So you can tell the plot points that they had to circle back to with this. But overall, great show. There was just one character that really annoyed the hell out of me, and I will get deeper into that once we get to the spoilers. But I love the way that they did everything. I was excited to see Bullseye come back, and he did not disappoint. From a little bit more of their version of Bullseye being talked about, and you learn more about his power set within this universe and various aspects of him, the blue tint. It was all around good. And then there's 2 scenes in here that just absolutely blew my mind, and I will just say the Fisk family, this was their episode.
Yeah, it definitely was a good, Paul from Heavily Spoilers, I saw him tweet this out, and then Travis put it in our group chat. Always being the cheeky British guy that he is, said you can honestly tell where the original showrunners had on, and then when the Jennison idea came on with this, because this is the first episode that. Well, not the first episode, but the next episode of the entire reboot. That because the first episode was a part of that whole reboot.
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel that's an accurate statement for this?
I can definitely agree that you could tell the continuation. You can tell how their vision was sewn into this.
Yeah. So I mean, my opinions of it, I thought it was it was definitely one where it's kind of surprising we didn't he did not get into costume. It was a solid, Matt Murdock, no costume, acting Daredevil like, but no costume.
Yeah.
So it definitely brought in. We're more at this point coming to a head of what's going to be happening. It's we will say it. There was a character we've been waiting to come back since their return in this season has not happened. David and I have seen set photos from this season that's saying, all right, we know this person's coming back. It's time.
Yeah.
So, but I definitely liked how, we see you can't keep the devil locked up forever, Matt. And this is basically showing that he is just tired of it. And I'm surprised and not surprised at how his interaction with one character that purposely, in order to prove a point, that he allows it to happen. That shows that Matt really is kind of losing a little bit of grip unless he starts finding the balance again. He can't stop resisting, despite trying to honor Foggy's memory. He can't not be Daredevil,
Yeah.
And how do you think this? How do you think he's going to deal with that, though?
I think that in the next episode, he is going to have a full-blown break before his redemption. I do think he's going to bounce back to premium Daredevil, but I think that he is going to have a full-blown he's going to delve a little bit more. And the fallout of the end of this, I think that we're going to start the next episode with him having a little bit of a mind battle with himself before getting back to his true form.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too. But all in all, definitely a great episode, and really thought it's setting up for a finale that I really, really hope sticks the landing. This has been an interesting season. As I've said before, it is I would say I've seen worse Frankenstein seasons than others. This is not the worst, but it's definitely been disjointed. And if we end these last two episodes showing a through line, this is how season 2 is going to go, then I'm all here for it. So, but all right, anything else before we want to jump on the spoiler wall?
I know, just to your point about the Frankenstein seasons, you can tell that there was a change in direction, but this doesn't feel as bad as this show got paused halfway through the writer's strike and we had to bring in someone entirely new to just write the last 4 episodes or whatnot. You can tell that there are some changes, but it's not too disjointing that you can't enjoy the show.
Yep. So, but all right, let us take our first ad break for the evening. So, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. Give it a 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back. I forgot to showcase something. It's Born Again. I showed this to you offline, but for the watchers of it at this point, we've got right here, just got this last week, Daredevil Born Again Artist Edition by Mazzucchelli, just recently come back into print. I'm not a big collector of Artist Editions. Typically, Artist Editions, really huge size, but they usually just feature the size of the paper and the quality of the paper that the artist, in this case, David Mazzucchelli, did. So you can kind of see it in exactly the form that they did. Most artist editions is just like artwork, no words or anything like that. The cool thing about this, it actually has the entire story of Daredevil Born Again in its kind of raw form. And, a lot of different pages. A nice little feature right here, Daredevil, written in Braille. So, put out by IDW. Highly recommend. Been out of print for 10 years. So, just recently come back into print.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, let us break this down. So, with Muse, remember him? Good, no one else does. I said what
the
I
writer
said.
sure didn't.
I said what I said, and I stand by it. So, the episode picks up in the prison where we catch up with, who other than Benjamin Poindexter, played by Wilson Bethel, who, despite his murderous rampage in the season premiere, still insists he's not supposed to be locked up. Remember, if we all remember watching Shawshank Redemption, remember, everyone's innocent in there. It's the lawyer that screwed them.
Yep.
So he then gets an unexpected surprise. Now, what I will say this, even flashing back, I can't remember the song that was played, but what we'll see when it comes to Bullseye, he kind of staring at like kind of a blue rose or kind of the outside of it.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about blue roses are they do not occur in nature. You have to engineer them at that point. So, but whenever Bullseye, we'll point out different points. When he's under high stress, this was part of the Netflix series when he was introduced. It has this weird kind of music going on too, but also starts having a blue tint around him as well. So I thought that was kind of an interesting kind of tip of the hat. But he gets an unexpected surprise when he's suddenly transferred into general population and left to fend for himself with the guards saying, Agent Poindexter, because ex-cops, ex-federal agents that end up in prison with probably some people that they've locked up or just in general that they're part of the police. Yeah, they don't last too long.
Yeah.
Shut them in with Gen Pop. Cue credits. Who do you think initiated that transfer?
If you will have the show to be believed, then it was organized by Wilson Fisk. But I feel like there may be a little bit more to that. So, but seeing him go into Gen Pop, having that feeling of, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be out. I was supposed to get released. He's thinking that he was riding high and that this would only last for so long. And now he's being set up to be taken out. And you could tell he's got a little bit of a confused look, but then a little bit of a smile like, I can deal with this. He's already plotting.
Yeah, so we'll see exactly who we think did that. So, but again, you start noticing the buzzing sound around him during that point when he's put in there as well. So when Dex gets angry at the world, remember, in the show he was not Bullseye; he was just simply Dex Poindexter. So Wilson Fisk. Flash to him, commends Vanessa as they're walking around for her leadership in taking care of Luca problem. Told you.
Yeah.
All a plan. All part of her plan.
It was all a work. He knew what was going on, and she just said he got a little bit too big for his britches. He had to go.
Exactly. You can't trust him. Can't trust him at all.
Yeah.
So they seem to be stronger than ever. They're walking around being, couple-like, but which can't mean anything good for the people in New York if they're getting along. Wilson says he's gotten public and private funding for the Red Hook project. He also commends her for taking care of the business while he was gone. That whole thing is like, wait a minute, we're saying it now? Whatever. I don't know. That just struck me as weird. I mean, I'm glad he's thanking her, but it just seemed like I would have sworn you would have done it earlier. But they're getting along. Whatever.
In that moment, it did seem a little bit weird. Now, once you realize where they're leading,
yes,
with this, it starts to make sense. But in that moment, it kind of seemed a little bit disingenuous. Like, why are you saying, "Hey, you deserve to be happy. You deserve to be told that you did a great job"? I'm like, you're doing a whole lot of ass kissing right now. What's up?
So, but she thinks he's throwing it all away, saying, I appreciate you doing it, but the business isn't going to last with what you're doing. And he's saying at this point that he's actually transforming it to what was always his goal, which it kind of was, because going back to his first season, he didn't always want to be the mob boss and things like that. He wanted to transform it into a more legal way, but he knew you can't do that in his world without, breaking some eggs. So back at Matt's apartment, he and Heather, our favorite character of the show, Heather, reflect on Muse. Again, remember Muse? Good. No one else does. She starts to compare Muse and Daredevil, which doesn't sit well with Matt. I wonder why.
They're just underdeveloped boys is the line she uses. And I'm like, oh, that has to sting.
Oh, no. Underdeveloped boys hiding behind masks.
Yeah.
And so he says Daredevil saved her, but she says she saved herself. Before the debate can continue, the knock at the door. Okay. Yes, credit where credit is due. You shot 4 rounds into Muse, which ended him. However, who got to you to get you to that, had the ability to do that? Daredevil.
Yeah.
I mean, this Matt Murdock in the comics cannot keep a stable relationship. However, he has done his darndest. This is probably the longest standing relationship, like stable relationship. I don't count his relationship with Lexter being stable. There was nothing stable about that relationship. There's never ever been anything stable about
Nope.
Matt and Electra being together. I'm not saying I dislike it. I'm just saying we cannot equate that being a long-standing stable relationship.
Yeah, no,
But
that
again,
him and Electra is the definition of toxic.
yeah. But it's just, it's almost like Heather is already figured out and just trying to bait him to I want him to do exactly what he did to Kim. I saved you.
Yes. Remember me.
I know, I saved you. One step away from doing that. But after the knock at the door, it's this right-hand man, Discount Wesley, Buck Cashman, who's there to give Dr. Glenn an invitation from the mayor for his inaugural black and white ball benefiting the Red Hook revitalization project because he liked the way she handled herself. Even though she knows he's taking credit or is giving credit to the anti-vigilante task force for taking him down, she knows the truth. She's even said the truth. Matt starts to lose it and tries to tell her he's evil, but she seems unconvinced and has brought into Fisk's claims that vigilantes are indeed a danger to society. Matt says that Fisk is trying to use her, but she's not having it, which is a troubling development to say the least, because Matt's even picking up, why are you defending him? Why are you so much about this at that point? And she's a therapist. She cannot reveal who her clients are because it's a client-therapist privilege. She asked him to come with her tonight, but he leaves without giving a definitive answer.
So my problem with Heather in this, and I get it when looking at the real world, because I've asked myself a lot, like, how could people be so blind? And then I turn on the news.
Pun intended.
But
she,
everyone knew pre-blip that he was a bad person. I know he finagled his way out. We don't quite know the specifics of it, but he got out of these legal troubles during the blip. But it was wide on the news, multiple arrests, kingpin of crime, all this stuff, and you're just like, nice, good dude. He was right. Yeah, I trust.
But got out.
I trust him more than the guy who legitimately jumped through a window to save my life.
Well, they're hiding behind a mask. Why would they be hiding? If they wanted to work the law, they should go to the other side, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just sitting here. This entire episode, I was just like, Heather, you're not this stupid. Heather, you're educated. You are not this stupid. Okay, you are this stupid.
There's a lot of educated people that are stupid, and I'm just going to leave it at that. At the same time, Fisk takes Vanessa to his lair. Ooh. Where she discovers that her husband has been keeping her former lover, Adam, prisoner, all ZZ Top-like. Fisk tells her that he's better than before, but he couldn't let this go. And then he shows her the key, offering her the chance to free him. While Adam pleads for his freedom, Vanessa seems to consider it before taking a gun and blowing him away in point-blank fashion. I almost wanted to say she needed to do 2 in the head because you never want to take a chance when they're into zombies. That's what you learn from
Double
zombies.
tap.
Double tap it. And the lovebirds reaffirm their love and are finally back on the same page. I half thought something weird was going to happen at that moment.
So this scene, I was yelling for Adam to shut up the entire time. You could tell Fisk was getting aggravated. Adam's still pleading his case. I'm like, dude, you are making it worse on yourself. This man is gonna pull you through the bars by your teeth.
Doesn't he say at one point, "Shut up, Adam"?
Yes, because he keeps going on and on. I'm like, no, seriously, shut up, Adam. You are not doing yourself any favors right now. And yeah, after the shooting of Adam, I thought that they were really going to reconcile the relationship right then and right there. I'm like, you two this is some weird power dynamic. I don't kink shame, but I do have kink questions right now.
You do have questions. Oh, goodness gracious. So Matt gets to his office where he learns that where he learns from Kristen that Bullseye requested a meeting with Matt, which is, let's just say, unexpected, the understatement of the year. He starts to inquire about who moved Poindexter into Gen Pop, and unsurprisingly learns that it was Mayor Fisk setting off his Daredevil senses. We can't call him Spidey senses; we'll call him Devil senses. Mayor Fisk is celebrating the task force success, excessive force and all, and commends Daniel Blake with getting BB in line, and decides to promote him to Deputy Mayor of Communications. I was like, that's a title. Yeah. Which obviously shocks Sheila, his chief of staff. She tries to protest, but Fisk is keen on having his young loyalist to take a position of power. You know, that's the part of politics, David. When you're in charge, you get to put even the most underqualified people in charge of major things. And nothing possibly could go wrong.
Yeah, he even says, I swear to Jesus Christ, I will burn for you. And I'm like, geez, kid, dial it down. You're at a 10. I need you at about a 4 right now. You are going headstrong into this.
Yeah. So, man. And Gandolfini just is playing a very good slime ball kind of thing. Like, he's not meant to be scary. He's just playing a good slime ball.
Yeah.
You know? I don't think I am not the kind of person who thinks that he is scary, or when he tries to be scary, I can more laugh because of, again, he's a slime ball.
Yeah.
But Matt and Kirsten meet with the potential new client who's being accused of defrauding teachers. No, there's a special place for him. Matt senses he's lying very quickly and just loses his cool again and just says, "No, sorry, we're not," calling him out on his bull, and then leaves. And much to Kirsten's anger, Matt becomes increasingly disillusioned after everything that's happened this season. He says, "We're not serving justice here. We're babysitting chaos."
Yeah.
Welcome to the law.
Now, in Matt's defense, Christian had horrible timing. He is about to go into a meeting with a client, and then you tell him about the whole Bullseye information right as he's about to walk in. You just sent this man's heart rate and stress through the roof that the killer of his best friend is requesting to see him. And now you expect him to go and be nice and talk to a client and be Mr. Calm, Cool, and Collected. Like, you kind of, you earned this anger.
Yeah, so he heads for Josie's. It's the first time he's been back since the first episode in Foggy's death, and takes a moment to catch up with Josie. I did find it interesting. He was just kind of standing at the bar, and then Josie says, "You're going to come in? Wait a minute, this was open?"
Yeah.
Before Cherry tracks him down, they start to talk, and he's convinced that he may have missed something. Cherry tries to counter, and they're at a standstill until Josie returns with a bottle of O'Malvy's. This was the bottle that Foggy apparently was drinking in the premiere. Matt tries to say that he wasn't drinking that, but Josie knows her patrons better than anyone. So he's left confused that Foggy was drinking that, but it usually wasn't drinking unless he was celebrating. And he suddenly realized that Foggy was actually celebrating early, that he must have known he was going to win the case with Dumb Benny before he was silenced by Bullseye. Now, Matt also, took a couple of shots himself there, middle of the day. Why not? Some day drinking. That's never going to go wrong. So he's a little sloshed at that point. But he rushes out and heads to prison to meet with his best friend's murderer. That's a good combination. Have a couple of drinks, meet with your best friend's murderer. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. And even Bullseye says, like, I didn't think you show. So,
Yep.
you have a couple of shots to, as the old boxers would say, calm the nerves before you start doing my stitches. And yeah, I just a glutton for punishment. I'm like, your stress is already high. Now you're at an alcohol. Now you're about to go face to face with a man that you have fought as Daredevil and someone who supposedly killed your best friend. This is all looking just great for you, Matt.
Absolutely. So, Murdoch and Poindexter finally meet face to face without their masks, and at least this season, and finally find themselves having to face each other down. So Matt doesn't want to hear anything but the facts. So he gets down to business and asks Poindexter who hired him to kill Foggy. Dex just deflects, doesn't want to tell him, but
Yeah.
Matt is done with it. He thinks Mayor Fisk hired him, but Dex is non-committal and tells him the only way he'll let him know the truth is if he gets him out of prison, gets him out of Gen Pop. In a rage, Matt slams Dex face into the table 3 times, and before Matt taken away, Matt delivers a solid F you before the scene ends. Man, I'll tell you what, there were a number of F-bombs already this season. By far, this was the most satisfying.
Yeah, it's just everything
It's like
about
bam,
this now.
bam, bam, boom. One more.
Now,
Let's call it the F-bomb, as it were.
I do wonder again with what a scene that happens later if this was Dex's intent, knowing that he would lose his cool, which then sets something up. But in that moment, it was just, yeah, it was a cathartic feeling for Matt and for us as the audience, just seeing him getting his head slammed and that FU, it was just like, yeah, stick it to him.
But here's another thing I want to propose. It's not necessarily Dex trying to do it. I'd like to propose out there that Matt meant to do it and knew if he would get him out, put him in a position where he would be removed from Gen Pop into the nurses, that he would escape. Matt put this into motion. I would like to propose that idea. That's where I was hinting at the beginning, saying that Matt did something, could be out of character in one view, also in character in order to, because look at how reckless he has become just in this episode alone, and getting more and more reckless at this point. He wants to find out the answers to nail fists to the wall in more ways than one. What better way than to turn it loose? And if Matt was fully conscious of what he was actually putting into motion and letting out into the back into the world, yeah, this isn't the same Matt Murdock we're dealing with that is more rational. I think Matt did this on purpose and knew it was going to put Bullseye in a position to escape.
To your point, Poindexter's last words before he gets his face bashed in was, "If you want to know if Fisk hired me, I need to be on the outside."
Yeah.
So with your point that would say, yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing to set up that later scene by he got his moment of letting out his aggression, but he also gave him all right, do with this what you will.
Yep. So, but before we head into the kind of the final part of this episode, we're going to take our next ad break. So, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and we can be a bit loud. They're going to give it a 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right, so we head to the black and white ball where we find Sheila trying to offer some counsel to Daniel, saying like, I think this is the start of a wonderful friendship. But it's clear that his ego is on another planet right now, and then he goes to catch up with BB, and we learn that she did his bidding in the sense of putting out the story that the anti-vigilante task force is the one that took down Muse and not Daredevil, but reminds him that they're not in a good place. And we get to see Jack DeQuence again and Artemis Sledge. They are both present at the ball, but Sledge seems spooked and rushes off. Elsewhere, Heather tries to reach Matt. No luck on the phone. So she's convinced that he's not showing up. But then we see Wilson and Vanessa make their grand entrance, who someone didn't get the dress code memo, though. And
black and white ball, and she is going to stand out.
Yep, why not? So back at prison, we see Poindexter being treated for his injuries, and David, what happens? Because
So,
I had to rewind to see. Because at first I thought he weaponized his spit.
so you hear him like moving around. You see his jaw moving, and you hear a noise. And at that point, the guard looks at him, and there is a moment when the guards are talking and the doctor is talking around him and saying, "Hey, be careful with the stitches. You know, this should last about a week." And it seems like the air talking to the guards, not to Poindexter. Like, if you guys are going to rough him up, just watch out for the stitches I just put in. So you see Dex smile, and now he's missing a tooth. And we have seen this toothless picture of Dex floating around for a while. Dex smiles. The guard is on his knees right in front of Dex. I don't know why you'd put yourself in such a vulnerable position against him, but he's right there, and Dex just shoots that tooth right into him. And this, again, going back to Matt slamming his face on the table, this is probably what originally loosened the tooth, and then he dislodged it in this moment to shoot it out there. He then picks up some scissors and scalpels and all the stuff off the table, takes out the remaining guard and doctor, and he is free to go. But this was just a true showing of Bullseye as he is. And this has actually happened on 3 different occasions in the comic books, to where he has broken off a tooth and spit it at somebody to take them out. So this is not uncanny for this character, but it was an incredible scene just to see this is what he was doing.
Like I said, the first time I saw it, it was one of those I look away and then saw him spit. I was like, did he just find a way to projectile his spit to turn it into a deadly weapon? Because if anyone that could do that, it'd be Bullseye. But yes, the tooth being spit, the use of the scissors, he's out. So Matt arrives at the ball, makes a beeline for Fisk, but then runs into Heather, the person that he should love and care about at that point. It's like, darn it, get out of my way. Nobody cares about you on this show, anyways. I was surprised to see him. He tells her that how he went to visit Poindexter, which doesn't make her happy. But what does make her happy anymore? Someone please tell me. And tries to apologize for his erratic behavior, and while simultaneously trying to listen into Fisk's closed door conversation with Jack. I just love it that she's like, "Did you hear a word I said?" Yes. What did I say? Good one, Matt.
Yeah.
That was quite humorous.
It was. I do like right before this, Heather and Vanessa run into each other.
Oh, yes. Forgot about that. Yes. Talk about that.
Yes. So Heather's like, "Hey, thank you for the invite. Glad to see it. Like, you are smiling." And Vanessa's like, "Yeah, I just want to, Vanessa says, just happy to see you one last time. We won't be needing your services. Everything's great between me and Wilson now. Water under the bridge. Everything's been mended. We're good to go." And Heather kind of looks shocked, and she's like, "Well, okay. If you guys are good, I guess I will leave it at that, and I'm happy for you." But she looks a little bit confused in this moment, and you can tell Vanessa is playing the crowd.
Yeah, it's they got to save that bill. They got to save that money.
Yeah.
So, but what Matt's overhearing is some very interesting conversation that he's trying to get a donation for the port project from Jack, but Jack's like, "I'm not interested in this." And then he basically says, "Does the name Swordsman mean anything to you?" And he's like, "No, what could you possibly mean?" And, kind of deflects and kind of makes out basically this saying, "I'll out you if you don't, contribute to the project."
Yeah.
But then we get some pretty gnarly stuff happening because a member of the press manages to get a photograph with Fisk coming out of this meeting and is caught by, Johnny on the spot, Officer Powell, man of the people, best police officer, who goes a little, extreme, and to teach him a lesson when the commissioner tries to say, "Why are you roughing him up so much? Oh, you want to talk about roughing up?" Takes his hand that he was using to take the photo and dips and jams it into the fried grease, which basically, I don't know how many degree burns we have. He's lucky to have any kind of use of his hand at that point. And basically leaving the commissioner's speech and saying, "Hey, I don't report to you. I can do what I want. I report to basically Mayor Fisk."
Yeah, and who is this rookie reporter who is in a place that does not allow reporters, does not allow photography or anything else? Your flash and your sound are on, so you are taking a photo with the shutter sound, with the flash going off. You're not even being slick about it. You're not pretending like you're texting. You're doing the little slide to the side. Like, come on, man. You got to be better than this. I would hate to be the newspaper or outlet that he works for, but yeah, the cops grab him up and they're like, "No, yeah, you want to see police brutality? We'll show you something." And he says, "I'm going to do something that's going to make you remember and make it very hard for you to wipe your ass for the rest of your life." And
Gracious.
when they dip his arm in there, I felt that and I was just like, "Oh, poor guy." And yeah, that was definitely some, we're in control now. The mayor's going to let us do whatever we want.
Yep, it's well, let's see I can't wait to see them get what's coming to them. I really can't. So as Blake continues to brag, BB catches the commissioner making his way to the exit, and she goes to catch up with him. Excuse me. She asks him whether the mayor consulted him before creating the task force. He's very reluctant to answer due to her giving the task force credit and calls her out on it.
Yeah, blue Secretary of Propaganda.
Yeah. He confirms that the task force was all Fisk and asks her whether she knows that Kingpin was the main suspect in her uncle's murder. And this is where we get the big revelation. She did know and has known this entire time, and tells him that everything she writes is under her name, meaning she is the one of the good guys. He tells her that he has files on all the crooked cops on the task force. And she gives him his card before heading back to the roost. However, there is someone definitely paying attention to this. He's not too smart, this commissioner, in the sense of trying to have private conversations. So I have a feeling next episode information's gonna get back to Fisk.
Yeah, they're standing out. This isn't in a back hallway. This is legitimately in a doorway, but in the main auditorium with everyone else. You've got all these agents who are standing around, the anti-vigilante task force people who are around Fisk and surrounding the room, constantly watching. Like, how do you not think that you are going to be seen as the police commissioner and as the number one reporter who just broke the story on them? All eyes are going to be on you guys. This is going to get back to Fisk.
No, how could it ever get back to Fisk? He doesn't know anything that's going on. He has no control. Remember, the sea is gripped in fear. Don't you remember?
Yeah, it was very, very poorly done for someone who is the commissioner of police not to realize this.
Yeah, well, we also know that he's also not one to be careful because, that's how he got blackmailed. So, excuse me 1 second.
Yeah. And then at the same time, we go over to Heather and Matt having their conversation. And this is the part where Heather annoyed me the most, when she is just trying to plead that, hey, this is just a great night, a great opportunity. He's like, don't you understand? These people are using you. They're using you to get to me. And she's like, well, why would they do that? He's like, he's a crime boss. Yeah, allegedly. I mean, but they're good people now. Look at what they're doing for but he's a crime boss. Yeah, but don't do this here. Don't make a fuss. And he's sitting there like, no, you know what? I'm going to show you. You don't believe me. You want to fight me on this. I am going to show you who Wilson Fisk is.
Yep. And so, yeah, it's just one of those, like, why are we still defending her at that point? So they hit the dance floor. So Cashman gets a phone call, and what does he learn?
So at this point, we learned that Bullseye has escaped, or Agent Poindexter has escaped. They don't know where he's at, and Vanessa overhears this and says, there's something that I need to talk to you about. So they rush out to the dance floor as well to have a conversation. Once again, Heather is trying to talk to Matt, and Matt is using his radar to listen in on Vanessa and Wilson as they talk.
Yep. So yeah, Poindexter's infiltrated the ball, and she has to, as you said, she has to tell him something. Matt realizes at that point it was Vanessa all along. She ordered the hit on Foggy. He cuts into Fist and may I cut in, and he starts dancing with Vanessa, telling her he knows what she did, and that he fired Foggy, wanted to know why. She did it. She basically admits to it. Just as Bullseye takes aim, while also revealing that she knows he's Daredevil, she tells him to relax, but he hears the gun loading in action, realizing Vanessa wasn't the target, it was Wilson, and he jumps in front of the bullet, and Matt gets hit. Definitely not killed, but definitely hit.
Yeah, high shoulder area, and then he stains Wilson Fisk's beautiful white suit with his blood, just like the picture of, the rabbit in snow, how it's stained. So a little bit of a callback to the previous seasons. But yeah, Matt literally takes a bullet for Fisk.
Yeah, and that's how the episode ends. And a lot of people are like, why would Matt take the bullet for Fisk? Well, a couple of ideas I have on that one. To get him to play kind of a hero card at that point, and to ask questions. Why did someone try to take out Fisk?
Yeah. If Fisk is dead, he's not going to get his answers.
Yeah. It's just one of those where the questions for them are going to be more at that point. So Matt's trying to play something. He didn't just jump him because he had the sudden realization how much he likes Fisk. But there's definitely something there. So, but yeah, we got one more episode.
Yeah, I did like during the scene with Bullseye and he's getting ready to take aim, we get the Matt vision, as I call it, from the first episode where the aspect ratio changes. You see him kind of hone in on what's going around him, and his vision changes. So as the aspect of the show is changing, so you can see that we're going into Matt vision, when it's then cutting back and forth between him listening in and Bullseye taking aim, you also see on the Bullseye shots, it's fading into the blue. He's zoning in, he's getting into his zone. And I was like, that's just a perfect duality of both of them that we got from the first episode coming back.
Yeah. Definitely we're looking forward to One Man returning, though. I know we both are.
Yes, I'm waiting on it. I'm waiting on it because honestly, I thought for a second that Heather was going to be one of the ones who gets hurt in this whole situation, and I was just waiting on another. You can't protect your women, Red.
Can't protect your women. Can't protect your women, Red. Yep. What about Foggy? He get life? He's gonna be he's gonna be clean shaven, and he's gonna take down some dirty cops.
Yep. So I'm fully excited for this, and I mean this was a great way to leave us on the edge of our seats going into the next episode. So I have a feeling that they are going to end on a bang, and it is going to leave me just wanting more.
In more ways than one, right?
Yes.
So, but yep. So next week we wrap up the first season of Daredevil Born Again. So we will leave you with that, and let us head into. Like I said, news was light this week, which is okay. We've got the Daredevil to kind of keep us cozy and warm as we go through that. So let us head into listener feedback. So we only had one, and it's a fact or fiction. So we will hold that until as we head into fact or fiction. We'll put it at the end. So David, do not let me forget to do Anthony Dorsey's fact or fiction after you do yours.
Yeah, no, he's got a good one, so I definitely will not forget. So.
Yep. But fact or fiction number one from last week. This is voting from last week. These were mine. We won't see Miles Morales officially in the MCU until Spider-Man 5. 55% said fact, 45% said fiction. Number two, the alien/black costume will not appear in Spider-Man 4. 91% said fact, 9% said fiction. And number 3, Toby and or Andrew will appear as their respective Spider-Man and Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. 54% in fact, 46% in fiction.
Awesome. I'm not surprised by those numbers at
Yeah.
all.
You know, we're gonna get that black costume. Just gotta be patient. Be patient. All right, what
All
you
right.
got this week?
So, fact or fiction number one. Vanessa will be arrested by the end of the season. So, in previous Daredevil seasons, it has ended with Wilson Fisk getting arrested. This time, it will be Vanessa.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. It's just it would be a lot in the sense of like he's been able to dodge everything at that point, but it definitely would be a nice switch. So I could say fact, not a I'd say about 55% fact. So what about you?
Yeah, I am a fact on that one. Like I said, in every season there has been some sort of arrest. So I think that this time it is going to be Vanessa instead of Wilson. He was arrested in season one. He was in jail during season two, and then he was arrested again at the end of season three after the "I beat you" line. So I think this time it is going to be Vanessa who is going to be taken down, and I think that Wilson will know Matt had something to do with it.
All right. What you got for number 2?
Number two, Taskmaster will not be the member of the Thunderbolts who dies. I know that's everyone's wide speculation based upon posters and lack of footage and everything else. They're like, we see all this late footage and we don't see Taskmaster. I think that's a subversion. I do not think Taskmaster will be the member of Thunderbolts who does not make it out of this movie.
Yeah, I'll say false. Nope, sorry. You're gonna bite it. And that's not because I have any hated about the character. I just think they did not do that character right, and they'd rather see them end, which is unfortunate.
Number three is
what do you think?
So I think that it's a subversion of expectations. We've seen Marvel play around with their trailers a lot where they take someone out who is in those later scenes, and I think it is an easy alley-oop for people to say, oh, I don't see Taskmaster. Oh, they really didn't do anything with Taskmaster. It was a Black Widow villain, like we don't care enough. They will not be the one making it out. I honestly could see Red Guardian being the one not to make it out, only because I think that it would have a more emotional gut punch.
But
sometimes Marvel likes to throw those emotional gut punches.
But David Harbour's in Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah, but that's also a multiverse movie, so you can bring him back. How many dead people?
We gotta go back. We gotta go back.
How many dead people were on that reel of names that were announced?
They're only dead, and they only are dead as they're not dead as long as we remember them. You know?
They live on in our hearts.
Exactly, our hearts and minds.
All right, and
all right.
Speaking of Avengers Doomsday, there will be another set of Doomsday cast announcements before the end of Comic-Con.
Well, it's gonna happen during Comic-Con. Yeah, that's how they do it. That's their okay. Fantastic Four didn't work well. We got to go hit him at that point, which I do think Fantastic Four will be successful.
Well, and that's why I very specifically say before the end of Comic-Con, because if these movies don't do well, I have a feeling they may jump the gun on the announcements. If these movies do well and they have a little bit of cushion, then yes, they'll wait to Comic-Con. So the exact timing of it could depend on how well these next movies do. Do we need to give you guys some different talking points other than this movie was a dud?
Yeah. We'll just have to see. But
yeah.
All right. And why don't you read Anthony Dorsey's?
Yep. So Anthony Dorsey's is in Avengers Doomsday, while some X-Men will have comic-accurate costumes, others will feature the return of black leather to solidify the group as the 2000s movie-era X-Men.
I
That
could
is an
I
interesting one.
I could see that. It's you know your love for Cyclops at that point, despite him being wrong in that god awful costume that you showed off in the chat the other day. Goodness gracious, that's like one of I will say like my favorite is the Jim Lee era costume. That is my favorite at that point. But when he went for that full skull cap, the big old X all across his face, like, and how do you use your powers like that? All right, well, whatever, bud.
Like,
You
how
do
do you
you.
control your I beam? I love Cyclops, but I did question, like, how do
That's
you
what I'm saying.
control the I beam?
Yeah, that's when he got a little full of himself, as if he already wasn't. It'd be give him God powers, and he thinks he is God. Um, but yeah, it's I could see them, at least some of them, being in costume, but I could see it. But this is one of those things where Marvel's got to be careful. If they do they want to honor the past, or do they want to give them some sort of upgrade that they always were begging for. So I'm gonna go fact on it, just because it's the one thing that everyone remembers about that era. Is it? But I could also see them pivoting. But I'll say I'm about again like a 55% fact, maybe 60.
I'm going to say fact on this, but I will say that they will not stay in those costumes.
Yeah,
If, and this is just my thought, if Hugh Jackman is brought in for this, because he will be with Marvel till he's 90, I could see a scene where the original X-Men meet up with this version of Hugh, and a comment is made either by him saying, "Oh, you guys are still wearing the black," or someone
yeah,
from the X-Men making a comment of they like his costume better. And whenever it is time for the big team up, everyone gets new costumes and they get more Jim Lee era style, because it was, during the making of the Fox X-Men where it was said, "Oh, people, these Jim Lee ones look horrible. No one's going to like them." And yeah, everyone was like, "What? Where is the costumes that we all know and love?"
yeah. But I like I said, I could see both. I could see both happening. So, but yeah, great question, Anthony Dorsey. So we will make sure to include that in when we put those out on Sunday afternoon. So let your voices be heard, and yeah, let us do our next diving into Daredevil Born Again. I mean, not Daredevil. Daredevil. Yeah, no, we're not going all the way back to what we're doing. Daredevil by Charles Soule. This storyline is Mayor Matt Murdock.
Yeah. So we ended our previous run with, Wilson Fisk being taken out by the Hand, and them announcing that there was some changes years ago to the laws, and no one ever changed it back. So Matt Murdock is our new mayor, and that is where we start with this. Daredevil was taken into custody, but Matt overhears that he's now mayor, and he's like, yeah, you guys, you got to let me out of here, because I have things to do. I need to go save this city." And without anyone knowing that he's the mayor, it's pretty much like, I've got to get back and do my mayoral thing. I've got to take charge.
I just like it how it's basically the Hand inadvertently gets him out of there.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed this, especially the Mayor Fisk storyline was good, and then how we get Matt kind of being the mayor when it's really like he brings Foggy into this, and I did enjoy this kind of this movement of how he's dismantling certain things to put in charge, including getting out all the heroes that were caught when they tried to do it in the last issue. Basically firing Wesley, because that was satisfying. I'm sure he took a lot of pleasure in that. But how he basically leaves Foggy in charge as so he can daredevil about.
Yeah. He's like, I need you to run interference for me so that I can do. And he even does the devil horns to explain why he's going out. I'm like, fuck, he knows who you are. Like, Like
Uh,
you don't need to do this, but yeah, no, it's good. We had a return of Elektra, and I did like how, and true to her character, he's like, "Hey, I need you to stay. I need you to help me." She's like, "I'm trying to no, the hands here. I'm trying to get out." He goes, "I will tell you who controlled your mind a couple of months ago," and he basically says, he goes, "More than her wanting to help, more than our wanting to be together, her bloodlust and wanting revenge will trump anything. So this is how I'm going to get her to stay."
yeah. So yeah, and what did you think of that? We've seen this priest come up recently. At that point, this is where this is where the issue I think jumps the shark a little bit. I get this like Order of Saint Dumas kind of thing going on at that
And that's
point.
exactly what I thought was like, is this the Marvel version of the Order of Saint Dumas? I'm like, somebody's been reading some Batman over here.
Hey, remember that thing they did? And we're gonna do it, but make it cooler. I said, I actually, actually not a, I actually enjoy the Asbats costume just because it's so far out there. And I was like, I'm not saying I like Jean Paul Valley. I just like how out there they made that costume. So, anyways,
Yeah.
side tangent.
I like when he shows up and he's like, "Yeah, you need to let me in because I'm his priest." And you've got all these warrior priests
Hola
coming from
rollers,
everywhere else. And they're going back like, "Yeah, no, we've been doing this ever since the 1400s. We did it in Hungary for the kings. Like, we fought in the Catholic Wars. And then we started fighting vampires. Then we fought zombies. Then we fought like these other creatures. Oh, and then the vampires came back again." And it's
The
like,
backstory that no one asked for and no one needed.
yeah. And then all the creatures came together and they had their own group during World War II. And here we were bringing that cleansing fire. I was just
Hmm.
like, that. This is, yeah, as you said, this was their jumping the shark moment.
Yeah, and they do end up getting rid of the hand. They takes down the beast. Blind Spot reveals why they're there because it's his fault and this, that, and the other. But during that time, Fisk leaves his hospital and drags his way into there trying to get back power. And eventually after the whole thing, Matt gives him back. And what are the conditions that Matt's willing to step down and give Fisk back his power?
He says, "Hey, I know that you and I in a power grab would disrupt the entire city. We're not at a point where the cities can be taken apart, and I don't want any of that. But I do have, some things that you need to do. So I will step aside, but you end your anti-vigilante crusade. Half of New York knows what we did. Half of New York watched the heroes save you. So from now on, they get a pass. And I'm quitting because you're not going to use me anymore. So when you step out of line and you try and do this again, I am coming after you."
Yeah, and that's we kind of end there. This is what it's kind of quite good timing. We've had a few delays at Comic Book Club, but I like it how it works out that this is our penultimate arc of this because next week we will conclude for the first time ever. We've done this on Marvel Alliance, an entire run broke down in arcs. We will be concluding Charles Soule's run with issue 606 to 612. No, we will not be continuing into Zdarsky's, at least not right now. I think David and I are going to take a break from Comic Book Club for not because we don't like and we're going to stop reading comics. I think Brent and I did this from time to time too. After a comic book arc, we're gonna take a break maybe for a week or so, and maybe return after Thunderbolts, and gives us some time because this was our choice to do this. So we gotta. It'll give David and I some time to come up with a theme and see what you, the listeners, would like us to cover next, and maybe we, you know, I think we'll. I think we like this idea. It's not something we want to do every time, just because it's a lot to do in one week, and there's something to kind of go back to the old issue by issue attempt. But so far, I mean, I liked how we did this, and I think there it gives us opportunities to do other things like this. And it was just good timing with the show coming back. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so we will again conclude this with issues 606 to 612. And but yeah, this brings us to the close of Marvel Alliance for
Hold on.
this week.
We
But we
we
do
had one
have,
question
yep, we
come in.
do. Jim Scroggs coming in hot, hot. He's not. You are not too late. You're not late, my friend.
See, hope I'm not too late, but what MCU character would give the best wrestling promo?
I'm gonna defer to you.
So this could go multiple ways. I would say that if you are going off of a pure babyface standpoint, it's got to be Captain America. He is the John Cena of the John Cena before the last month of John Cena. This is the career John Cena poster boy. That's when you are getting him. I know some people would try and equate Captain America to Hulk Hogan. They are two completely different people. If you know anything about Captain America, he actually stands up for the little guy. He will turn his back on those who are doing wrong. He is the stand up for what's right, the forever good guy. But
Real American.
who would give the funniest promo would most likely be Wolverine, because I think he would be the one who you would shake your head and go, "Oh, that wasn't in the script. He is just shooting now, and this is hilarious."
I would say who would cut a good promo would be Tony Stark. You know,
Yes.
I would say Tony Stark would cut a good wrestling promo as well. Trying to think of other um, outlandish ones. Maybe Star Lord could do one.
Starler could do one. I think Ben Grimm would have some funny lines in there about just the fact that he's going to absolutely demolish whoever his opponent is, and it would be believable. And I also think that Drax would be some just hilarious promos. He would be the one who was known for the botches. He would be the one who is known for the mess ups, and you want to watch just to see what outlandish thing he says that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But all right. Well, thank you, Jim, for that. That was a nice last minute question at that point. But yeah, volume 256 in the books. So I know I said at the top of the show 255 as I had the wrong show notes in front of me. So yes, 256. Yeah. Whoops on that one. And but yeah, bringing 256 to a close. As always, David, tell people how they can follow you.
You can follow me on all socials at the Phantom, as listed below for those of you watching. You can also find me here on the Geekverse Network for our wrestling show, The Gimmick. We actually have a show coming up this Sunday at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time. And then going forward, we're going to have some announcements about more recurring shows and some other things we're doing. Again, we are at the last peak because WrestleMania is in less than 10 days. So the hype train is going to be rolling on that. So you can find me again on The Gimmick with Travis Snell and S-Bubs. And you can find me on all socials at The Phantom.
Yep. Check all that out. Yep. You can, before plugging my stuff, remember, if you want to thank our sponsor, Organic Price Books, use that code, either Marvel GUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order, or use MGUA SIT for 5% off when you order 4 or more books together. You can follow me on all the socials at Chris Valga. You can catch me every Saturday on the Brave and the Boys YouTube channel at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Organic Price Books Weekly Buyer's Guide. You can check out this. You can follow us on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can subscribe. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions, continue to rate and review the Marvel Alliance solo feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. We want to thank all our listeners listening live. We want to thank you all for listening after the fact. And we hope you stay safe out there. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, David, post-credits discussion, what you got?
All right, post credit. So, comicbook.com released an article called Five Captain America Characters Ruined by Marvel Movies. And
Ruined. Oh my gosh,
yes,
the hyperbole is strong with comicbook.com.
and I did agree with some of them, like Arnim Zola did not have, for those who know about him in the comics, same thing with Baron Strucker. They felt like, hey, they were underutilized. Sharon Carter was right in the middle of their list, and I know I've heard her name a lot with people saying that that was a wasted character. And then finally on their list, they had Red Skull, who for the first Avengers, yes, he could have been more. I do think that they brought back the character to utilize him in other ways afterwards. But yes, none of these guys were the big bads that they are to Captain America on a full scale. And but with also some of them I get for where they were doing with Captain America, you couldn't have everyone be the big bad every single time. But the question that I want to pose to you is not just limiting it to one franchise. What is your top Marvel character that you feel has been ruined by MCU movies?
I
I
don't like
very
that.
specifically said MCU movies, so we're not touching the Sonyverse.
Oh, come on.
That's low
Um,
hanging fruit.
that is low hanging fruit. Just so you don't even want Captain America. Well, first let me respond to the Captain America stuff first. One thing I can agree on, I don't care about Crossbones. I'm sorry, I don't. I
Yeah.
didn't never cared about him in the comics, things like that. I would say out of this list here, who I really, I would say Red Skull, yes, but I'd say were they built up and have done nothing with as moving to the quote unquote power broker, Sharon Carter. That was a great twist in Falcon and Winter Soldier. And we had theories on top of theories on top of theories where they left that. And if they never revisit it, I'd say that's a really big kind of whiff on that one. The rest of them, outside of Red Skull, as I said, the honorable mention, they see Sabra and the Serpent Society. They didn't build it up enough for me to care.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'd say Red Skull and Sharon Carter. So now you're proposing the idea of who was this is Phil says who are these handsome devils? Yes. um the oh man, who is the MCU underutilized at that point? I mean, one could make an argument, but not many people really cared at that point. I'd say the Eternals. Um if you've got one, I didn't know I would have come prepared at that point. If you got one in mind, give me a minute to think if you've got one in mind.
Okay, so the first person who pops to mind, and granted, time could change this. Time could change this, but right now it does not, and that is Adam Warlock. Because Adam Warlock
I don't care about Adam Warlock.
in all of the previews, he was built to look like he was going to be the big bad, and then he was just a comedy second character who in Secret Wars plays a big part, but in this he was just reduced to a big baby man child. Just
Well, I'm not. Phil's got a good answer. Sif. He also, knowing Phil as well as I do, is not a fan of what Adam Warlock was done in Guardians 3, and even James Gunn has come out and said that that was one of the that was a regretful decision of putting even the Easter egg at the end of Guardians 2, saying like, shoot, I've got to do something with it. Um, and yeah, it was, but that was the thing. Like they didn't build him up to be part of the Infinity Saga like the comics did. Um, I would say just another Thor character, Malekith. Um,
yes,
I think that movie's a lot of victims of the writer strike and everything like that. Um, I think to some extent one can make an argument of Jane Foster. They tried redemption in Love and Thunder, but it just I I love the Jane Foster character in the comics. I love that whole run of Jane Foster, which I like what they've done with her in the comics and really doing it. Um, but yeah, Phil says The Adam Warlock suffers from a James Gunn creative change I don't like, and it's called bumbling idiot syndrome. Let us know how you
I
really feel, Phil. Um,
I would agree. Before getting more thoughts on Thunderbolts, I would have said Taskmaster as well,
yeah,
but we don't know what they're going to do. And at least we know Taskmaster is about to get used again
dead,
in a new movie where we
dead,
don't know if we're going to
die,
see Adam Warlock again.
worm food. You wonder why they keeps disappearing? Interesting. But Phil actually says, ironically, Jane Foster was one of the highlights of the movie. Not much to highlight for the record. Yeah, I mean, again, it has nothing to do with Natalie Portman. I really do love the when that whole character arc in the sense of who is our new Thor. Even though yes, we knew it was a female, but the revelation that it was Jane Foster and what was going on. I just love that series. It's one of my. I mean, I'm a Jason Aaron fan, but I think that his Thor run is some of the best. I think is the best stuff he has done in Marvel with Wolverine at that point. So, but yeah, yeah, that was a good topic at that point. A good post credits discussion. So let us know what you think. Again, DMs are always open, and we will catch you next week for the conclusion of Daredevil: Born Again season 1. Catch y'all later.
Let's see.